Well, good morning. Welcome back to Cityline. With me, I have somebody who is new to the comfy couch, but certainly not new to the city of Tacoma nor the Northwest. I'm talking about the delightful Buffy Villa. Buffy, you are the Dependency Program Manager for Pierce County Juvenile Court. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
Gosh, my goodness. Now, I can't believe that we haven't had you on the comfy couch or even zooming into my kitchen when we were sheltering in place. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at the juvenile court.
Yeah, so, I have worked in child welfare for 23 years, the majority of my professional career, and so it is what I do. I've been at the court for 15. And so in the role of dependency program manager, I really support people who advocate for youth who are in the child welfare system. We call it, it has all kinds of names, we always laugh. The dependency system, which is really working with youth who have been alleged to have been abused or neglected. Oh. And so my team supports and advocates for those youth. I think for me, working in the system, early in my career, I worked with youth aging out of the foster care system, and I learned most of the lessons in my life for the work that I do today from them, really seeing their experiences, how complex families are, how childhood trauma impacts, has long-reaching ramifications, substance use disorder, mental illness, and just all the complexities of that. And really how, the system can help, but it can also harm. And so making sure we're finding that balance for kids and families. Yeah.
Well, you said the phrase I think most people are familiar with, and that's that aging out phrase.
Yes.
Because that's what makes the headlines when something goes awry in that system and then someone ends up on the front page. What misconception do you think the community may have when they think about juvenile court in regard to your role and the outcomes of young people connected to a court system?
Yeah, so so aging out is those youth are very important, and they focusing on them is important. Hearing their voice in the system is important. One of the misconceptions, though, is that we work with youth 0 to 18. So in 2021, 66% of the kids who came into our system were under the age of 5. And so we work with babies a lot. We also work with, the older youth, but we work with babies a lot. So that's one of the things that people oftentimes don't think about.
I have to tell you, I consider, you saw my jaw drop. I consider myself a learned person. I love to be educated, and 66% of that number was 5 and under. Yep. And as you and I could know, 5 and under is the time when everything you must get in your life to be a thriving person happens. So to see 66% of that be in a situation where they need more advocacy is disheartening at best. So tell us then, what is the role of a volunteer child advocate? How can we help?
Yeah, so in our system, we have guardian ad litem. So those are employees of the court who advocate for youth who are in the system. And then we also use volunteers to do the same work. So we have, in Pierce County, we have about 140 volunteers that are from the community that go through some intensive training. It's really a professional volunteer experience because it's a very complex system.
I bet.
And so they spend a lot of time and energy learning and growing, and then ultimately are assigned to a case and able to really get to know kids and families, really be able to identify the needs that they may have, kind of walk alongside people as they're navigating the system, making sure that, the right services or things that families need, parents need, children need are in place, and that the system is working.
Yes.
So that kind of one-on-one attention, we like to say, because our volunteers, oftentimes serve one family at a time, where our system can be overwhelmed. Our professionals can be overwhelmed with lots of families, and so our volunteers really bring that special care to kids.
Absolutely. I want to go back to when you said they are thoroughly trained. Can you talk about the training for a volunteer child advocate and what is involved? So for people who are going, well, I have a little bit extra time, would this be a right fit?
Yeah. Well, one of the things we're looking for when we're looking for volunteers is we're looking for volunteers who have some lived experience. So have whether that's their own experience, their family's experience, and that's with most of our families have had challenges with substance use disorder or mental illness or those kind of things are not, just in the child welfare system.
They're in my family.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
And so, we're looking for people who have some of those experiences. And even though we do have volunteers who don't have those experiences, but we're looking for people with an open mind. So people who are willing to learn. Our system is so complex. So our training, actually, we just revamped our training. So we're really focused on reunifying families. So our system has changed over the years. The number of cases that we now see where kids are going home versus kids who are leaving our system by being adopted or other things is changing. And so we're really focused on how do our volunteers support families and how do they work towards making sure families are getting their needs met so that they are able to be reunified.
Absolutely.
And so our training focuses on that. It is 30 hours, and then each volunteer is assigned a supervisor who walks alongside them. So they have a
Wow.
professional who supports them and makes sure, that they don't miss things or, all those things we have anxieties about, and make sure that they're looking at things, through a race equity lens, making sure they're, just if they're missing things that they have that support.
Which is amazing because they're going to miss things. You have the heart. They invested the time into training, but to give them a mentor is the gift that keeps on giving. So how long are they mentored for before then you're able to call them and say, hey, I have a case for you?
So the best way to learn in our system is to receive a case. So they get a case right out of training.
Nice.
And their supervisor is there for the whole time. So,
excellent.
And everybody has different needs. We have some volunteers who work, and so they have different needs that need to be met. We have some, we call them career child advocates.
Yes.
So they find their passion, and this is what they do, and they have, many cases. And so it just really varies, whatever that level of support is that's needed.
You're reading my mind because I'm thinking about the impact of the volunteer work. Their work is so great on your team, and also more importantly for the young people they advocate for. Can you give us some examples of a volunteer that comes to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So Amy, who was our 2021 Ken Nelson Advocate of the Year, her story is really quite amazing. So she unfortunately had a family who was coming back into the system. So they were successfully reunified and unfortunately hit some bumps in the road. And so they had to come back. And because she knew the family dynamics and she knew the family already and was still working as a volunteer, she was able to give the court valuable information so that they could immediately be placed with family. And so that is really one of the judges have to make really hard decisions.
Oh, do they ever?
And so I think one of the things our volunteers do is just give that information so that they have the best information in order to make those decisions. I also always tell the story of one of my volunteers when I was a supervisor, and we had a mother who was struggling with some really debilitating mental illness in and out of institutions. We weren't sure if she was ever going to be able to parent, but she saw the value of the baby having known mom, right? And so she advocated for the child to have visitation with mom, and made sure that there were pictures taken, that the family that was going to ultimately raise the baby had knowledge of mom, those family connections and identity that we know are important for kids.
Exactly.
Yep.
In this last 2 minutes, can you tell us, first off, what do you need from the community? How can we help? That's the big one. And then how do we sign up to be a volunteer if we want to become a child advocate?
Yeah. So what we need from the community is volunteers.
Yes. That's right.
We also, though, if you're not able to volunteer, we do have, in my mind, how keeping kids out of our system is really important.
That's another piece.
And so being educated about what's happening in your community, helping kids and families when they're struggling so they don't come into the system, I think is really important. And then we also have a nonprofit called Kid Connect that's connected to our agency that does gives things. So if you have money and you'd like to donate, that's a great nonprofit to donate to because they support our children, help with resources and things that they need that are in the system. And then to be a volunteer, you can go to our website, Pierce County Juvenile Court. You can call Clarissa Fletcher, who's our amazing volunteer services coordinator. And yeah, call the court. We will get you to the right place.
Yeah, we will. I want to say thank you for your transparency and your confidence and your dedication to the young people who live in Pierce County, in the system and out of the system. And I want to have you back in about 90 days because we're going to talk about, what's happening. We're getting back into school and ways that we can continue to help support you. So Buffy, to all of the people who work in your division, we want to say a huge thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, little musical chairs, and then we're going to have Lisa Talbot from the new Phoebe House on the comfy couch. We'll be right back.